organizations win championships. A Chicago Bulls podcast with Jason and Dan Bernstein on 312 Sports.
OWC on 312, Dan Bernstein, Jason Bernstein. And you say, well, who is that person in the middle who has more basketball knowledge than the two you put together? Well, that would be Julia Poe, who is doing some distinguished work of late covering the Bulls as the beat reporter for the Chicago Tribune. And you can follow Julia on socials at by Julia Poe and at Julia Poe on Blue Sky as well. And as mentioned here, first of all, thank you for joining us. This is great that this worked out. And I do appreciate, with everything that's been going on with this team right now, that you have done, I think, the best job conveying how difficult this period has been, and just the cross purposes at which so many people seem to be working. And how has it gotten to this point? How did we get to this point of a trade deadline that seemed to finally make sense, and now it's still awkward and weird?
Yeah. I mean, first, thanks so much for having me on. I think that this is really common, not just in the sports industry, but in any industry. When you have organizational disrepair, it is really, really difficult to keep the ship going straight. You know what I mean? It is really difficult when leadership from the top down does not have a strong organizational ethos. It's just difficult to even do the right, simple things consistently. And I think that you see that with basketball teams. I think that you see that with small businesses. You see that with basically with newspapers, any type of organization. If the leadership does not have a strong ethical, tactical, analytical strategy of how they want to approach the day-to-day, even when they get things right for a day or a week or a month, eventually stuff starts to slip through the cracks. And I think that is just what has been happening time and time again with the Bulls.
And I think one of the worst parts about it is that we never see AK or Mark Eversley talk to the media, or so rarely do we see that happen. And in an organization, as you said, that doesn't really that doesn't have a strong leader that comes out and even acknowledges their mistakes. They don't. They keep saying continuity, or we won't settle for average, or we want to be competitive. That's all that we hear from them, and none of those things are ever true. And I feel so bad for Billy in this situation and so many situations in the past where he's had to be the guy that comes out and been pretty much the organizational spokesperson. And a head coach shouldn't be that guy. It should come from the guys that are making these decisions. And Absolutely. I feel awful for him.
Absolutely. And I think that, the Bulls are in a very lucky position, honestly, that Billy is who he is. There are a lot of very good basketball coaches who are as good, maybe better than Billy Donovan, who are not as good at speaking clearly, coherently to the media on a daily basis. And look, coaches are always going to talk more than executives. That's just how the job works. That's one of the things that they get paid to do. I'm fine with that dynamic. I think that the level to which this front office has allowed Billy to carry water in that way, specifically this season, is just gutless at this point. It really is. And I don't think that it reflects well on who the front office is trying to be, how they want to be defined and seen internally and also around the league. You hear a lot of words used to describe this front office, and that general idea of them being gutless, being spineless, not being able to stand up in these situations, that is a through line that you hear not just in Chicago. You hear that around front offices throughout the league. That's not how you want to be known. That's just not.
Do you agree with the current speculation of the schism between coaching and front office perhaps coming to a head? I know this started with the Billy Donovan's name being mentioned as a possibility at North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We don't know the specifics of his contract extension that he received or what he was promised or where he thought he would be. But do you think it's possible that dissatisfaction with this clear direction, as you describe, could force Billy Donovan to decide he doesn't want to be here anymore?
Absolutely. I think there's two separate things here. I think on one hand, it's pretty common around this time of year to see Billy's name come up just because his coaching legacy in college is going to live, for the entirety of his career. I would personally be very surprised to see him make a midseason jump to an NCAA team. I don't think that has ever fit with conversations that I've had with him, just my understanding of how he kind of like sees his personal trajectory. That would be very surprising to me. However, I think it's very clear that the Bulls and within that Billy are at a turning point. They're about to start a new project. That project is going to be very hard. It is going to include a lot of losing before things are going to get better. And leadership, as I said before, has not only been very poor, they have put Billy in a series of very, very bad, very, very difficult and challenging situations. On top of that, this has just been a very personally difficult year for Billy.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of those things are going to factor into him sitting down at the end of the season and having some very, very serious conversations with his family and with Arturas and Mark and with ownership as well. I would not be surprised at all to see those conversations lead to Billy Donovan walking away from Chicago. Regardless of where his kind of contract status is at, I do not think that it would be surprising at all. I don't think that decision is made right now. I think that is something that is going to come with some very hefty conversations that are going to be happening in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
And how can you blame the guy
Yeah.
for what he's been through, not only this year personally and with the organization, but forever, how long he's been the head coach now he's had to do this.
Absolutely.
And I find it hard to believe that he would take the job at UNC or any NCAA job. He already won 2 national titles at Florida, and the amount of work that goes into it now because of the transfer portal and NIL, I don't know how head coaches are doing that and staying sane enough to present themselves. And I just think that why would he want to do that and go to a blue blood school with those expectations and have to recruit and not only, people in high school classes, but guys that are going to be graduate students, seeing if that
guys on other teams.
Yeah,
you got to recruit everybody. You got to recruit your own players even after they're there.
In Europe, you got to recruit some guys that are playing in the Euro League. You look at Illinois' roster, and I mean, it's all everybody that grew up playing in Madrid. So I just think that why would he want to do that? But it would make total sense to me, and I would not blame him at all if he were to step away for this season. And even if he wants to coach again in the future, if he takes a year off and just has a mental break from it all, I would not blame him for a second. And I think, I don't want to pretend to know what he's going through, but if I was in that situation, knowing what I know, I would not be surprised if he decides to step away for a little bit from basketball for a little bit, be with his family, and then come back when he feels ready for it.
Yeah, I have definitely heard other people in the media space share that same sentiment. I personally find it hard to imagine Billy going like 3 weeks without coaching, just knowing how he is. I can't imagine him going 3 weeks without watching film. He loves film so much. I think he'd start cutting it of like just personal life things, and he'd have the iPad out, and his wife would be like, "What is happening right now?" But that's just his.
He's not Tom Thibodeau now. Let's be fair. Like that guy was already here for a while.
Yeah, but yeah. So we'll definitely see. But I think this is a turning point, and I think that anyone, if the Bulls, if the Reinsdorfs are serious about feeling like Billy is a part of their future, they've got a pitch to make. I do think that at this point, this is like a pitch him to stay situation, not a maintain the status quo and he'll stick around type of situation. That's for sure.
We're talking with Julia Poe of the Chicago Tribune here on OWC. That's brought to you by MyBookie. Illinois took down Iowa. Michigan knocks off Tennessee in a beatdown. And UConn sent Duke home to the delight of many with that shot at the buzzer. Your bracket might be cooked. Your bankroll doesn't have to be. Final Four live bets. Catch those swings before the odds adjust. You don't need a perfect bracket, just the right read at the right time. If you're thinking in the back of your head, gee, I wonder what the money line is, it's worth checking. If you're going to be in it to win it with mybookie.ag and the promo code OWC. That first bet's covered up to $500. If it misses, you activate a bet back bonus token and you run it back. Tournament's heating up. Don't just watch it. Go big. Win from it. We've got your back. MyBookie.ag. All this only at MyBookie. You, Julia, just invoked the name Reinsdorf. And my experience with Michael Reinsdorf as Bulls owner is that he is hands-off, I think, to a fault. I think that they have a really strong business and a really strong brand. Mm-hmm. They put on a great show every night. And there are a lot of happy tourists who come in and make this stop like they're going to Blue Man Group or like they're headed out to medieval times in a way that it's not a competitive spirit of a basketball team where as long as the show that night is good enough, everybody's happy.
Yeah, they're still living off of Jordan. That's what it is.
In a lot of ways they are. In a lot of ways it's also there should be credit to their branding and marketing, and they might be too good at that. But at what point, and who needs to talk to Michael Reinsdorf? At what point does he say, no, those 6 trophies that we have in that building matter, and doing everything we can possibly do to get the next one is how we're going to conduct our business? Are we ever going to get to that?
Yeah, I think you kind of touch there on a really interesting piece of this, which is often difficult with ownership, and specifically with ownership that is being inherited from someone that is not the founding owner or the primary initial owner in the family of a team. Is how do you reach someone like that? How do you reach someone who has grown up in this, who has always had this around them, who, has kind of had this path in front of them for a really long time? Who is the person that can touch that person, put a hand on their shoulder, say, what's going on here? What are we doing? I think normally you hope that would maybe come from within a family, that would come from, kind of that confidant that you have within the family that you can trust. I don't know exactly where the Reinsdorfs pull that from, but I do think, if we're looking at the week that this team has had, specifically with how Monday went down with the decision surrounding Jaden Ivey, everything that I have heard internally from the Bulls is that was very ownership driven. That was not a situation where the front office was stepping in. That was very ownership driven. And I really do think that the Reinsdorfs should take a second and look at how that went. Monday went very well, in my opinion. As someone who was on the ground and was around the team, they handled themselves very professionally, very quickly. Internally, the staff handled things in a very just materially good way. And it ended up being as much of a carnival kind of situation this has been. It ultimately ended up going as smoothly as anything like that can happen. The decision was made. Everyone just kind of executed well. Coaches, players were on the same page. You move through and you just kind of move forward as an organization. I think that they should take a look at that and say, hey, when we come in and we have a strong hand, I know that's for a day and it's hard to do that for weeks or for a whole season or anything like that. But when they come in and have a strong hand and put their foot down and say, hey, this is how we want this to go, it went well. Because like you said, the Bulls as an organization, as an entertainment machine, runs very well. They hire good people for the most part. So I think that is something that they should really reflect on. I don't know if they will. It's really hard to kind of reach people who are at that level, who are that disconnected from the average fan, the average person. But I would hope that Monday would make them go, man, we can kind of get some stuff done and we can redirect and own our own narrative in a little bit of a better way if we do actually just step forward and take a little bit more assertion in those moments.
You wrote about how you felt regarding Jaden Ivey and his unfortunate and inflammatory and vile comments that he made. You were very clear about the team taking away what you thought might have been your responsibility to say, hey, I'm right here and this is not okay.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us about how that went down? Did the team say anything specifically to you, knowing that he's basically ranting on a street corner, but he happens to be in a locker room?
That's exactly what he was doing.
Yes,
he was sitting on a street corner on his phone talking about how Steph Curry isn't a real Christian.
Well, but I'm
serious.
Yeah, it was literally ranting on a street corner. But but the fact that this has been going on for a while since his backyard pool rebaptism apparently, and this has been concurrently with the injury and whatever has caused this change.
No, did you see the clip when there was an interview that he did on a podcast? Forgive me for not knowing which podcast that resurfaced. It was 9 days after he had that major leg injury and his NBA career was in question, and he went down a rabbit hole into his past and how he felt like he was never loved as a child.
Yes.
And he even mentioned
was
that
abused.
he was sexually abused and
Yep.
how he became abusive toward his wife and how Jesus healed him and things like that. So I don't want to say the injury was a catalyst of all this, especially because of the baptism that he had in the summer of 24. But it just seems so weird. And Dad, I sent you a video when all this was coming up. And I went on YouTube and just looked up Jaden Ivey post-game Purdue interview because I wanted to see if there was a difference.
Oh, yeah.
And it's night and day.
Well,
he, like there's a light in his eye and he's smiling and answering the questions with a lot of thought. And he just seems, I don't know, who knows how happy he was at that time, but he seemed in control of himself. This is really serious what's going on right now.
Well,
and
let me just double back. I don't want to go too far down there because we're digressing a bit. I want to go back. We knew that he was doing this in Detroit.
Right.
And it was bothering people there. It was rubbing teammates the wrong way and other people around the organization. When did you know? Did you ever get an inkling about some of this more inflammatory stuff? Did you bring it to anybody's attention? Did you talk to him and say, like this isn't okay?
Yeah. So it was not definitely what happened this week did not come as a surprise, which I kind of wrote about in the Tribune. It became fairly clear fairly quickly, just kind of the way that Jaden would approach media interviews. So we had Casey Johnson and I had a fairly normal scrum with him the day that he got traded. He was very meandering in his comments and he brought up his faith a lot, but it was also about 6 hours after he had gotten to Toronto post trade. And we just kind of, I think I at least attributed that to the idea of the kid's head is spinning. This is crazy. You're having to get used to new team, all of that. Brushed it off. 4 games later, he plays for 4 games, and then he had that coach's decision, the DNP CD, which was the first time that we heard anything about him having any knee issues. And in the post-game interview that he did for that was the first time that the entire beat kind of became aware of this very, again, it's meandering, but it's a very focused way of speaking where no matter what questions you ask him, even if it's just, is your knee hurting? Are you experiencing pain? How long have you been experiencing pain? That sort of thing. Everything's getting brought back to the religion. And the specific words that he was using, I grew up in Kansas as a person who has lived in the Midwest for most of my life as a Christian myself. I have been around a decent amount of like evangelical language. I know kind of what that sounds like compared to other denominations like Catholicism, Presbyterianism that people are kind of used to. And so I recognized a lot of the phrases that he was using as being kind of this like evangelical language. And we had a conversation with that both as a beat. And I even talked a little bit with Bulls PR at the time, not really about, I was like, I don't want to project anything on him. He might just be, speaking his faith. And at the time, I'm not going to tell someone how to do their press conferences. If they want to give just, frankly, unusable responses, that is fully their choice. That is part of how they are branding themselves. I'm not going to tell them like, hey, don't do that.
Right. You just won't use them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to be able to use his quotes, but if he doesn't want us to be able to use the quotes, like, you know what, that is fully his choice. I was like, we'll work on this in the future. But I did bring up to them, I was like, this language is in line with evangelical language that I have heard that does make me a little bit wary as a visibly queer person of just how he might think of me, interact with me, whatever. I don't want to, and I told them, I was like, I don't want to project that on him. I don't know. I know people who are evangelical who are completely comfortable working with a variety of people in their workplace. But at the time I was like, even just personally talking like with my family about it, I was like, I don't know about this guy. Like this is a new thing that I have not encountered in the locker room before. And I'm saying that as someone who has like talked about, like I've talked about the Bible with Io Dosonu many times, so this was very different. The type of language, Great Commission language, that sort of stuff was very different from what I was used to hearing. So that was the first time that I was like, okay, this guy might have a little bit of a different approach to how he's going to speak to people. And he clearly feels comfortable evangelizing, which could get a little bit uncomfortable. And so from then, you hear different things about how he was in Detroit, but he wasn't playing. So I really thought that this was going to be a next season problem if they decided to sign him in RFA. I really just was like, we'll pick that up when we get there, and hopefully maybe he'll have a good offseason and just be feeling a little bit better and a little bit more comfortable and more able to kind of like, get to know us and just start building that like beat writer athlete relationship.
Yeah, sorry, Dad, but
no, go ahead.
I think that one of the craziest things was how Josh Giddey spoke on it, and how he said something along the lines of like, we're all rooting for him, and I hope he gets the help he needs, considering what Giddey has gone through when it comes to media scrutiny, and different situations. 100%, that was more of a scandal, and it wasn't about religion. However, him being, I don't want to say the voice of reason for Bulls players, but him being the guy to step up and say something, it was a very PR answer. But I do think that it is kind of interesting to see that Giddey is the guy that spoke on it. And in some ways, I appreciate
I
that.
just not to cut you off, Jason. I just I wouldn't think that much into that one. There are four players who can reasonably speak in that locker room right now to the future of the Bulls. It's Trey, Josh, Modis, and Patrick. Josh, I can tell you, Josh offered to be the one that talked about it to us. He was like, and he was coming to that from a locker room standpoint of, he is trying to be a locker room leader. He is trying to be, and this is a messed up thing to say about a 23-year-old, but he's trying to be the vet in that room
and taking the pressure off everybody. Sure,
absolutely. So I
get off of Billy.
Yeah. Exactly. I would not read anything into that more than Josh was like, he's probably the best. Trey Jones is a good speaker as well. Modis and Pat are both even Pat is like still very young. Modis is very young. Josh just really wanted to be the leader who basically stepped up and was like, I will give the quick PR answers here, and then we will all move on. I would not read too much into anything that the players are saying. They don't know the guy. They barely spent any time around him.
That's true.
They're just trying to get through this. And this is why this reflects poorly on the front office, is you are putting a guy like, we have a game tonight to go cover. I would not be surprised if Modis Buzelis gets asked about this. He is a young 21-year-old Christian man who likes talking about his faith. What an incredibly uncomfortable position to put that young man in. Yeah. Why would you do that?
There were some Josh Giddey comments, though, that I thought were material, and it was more about the future of the team, where you had the quotes of him saying, I don't know where this team is going right now. Are we supposed to be a playoff team? Are we supposed to be rebuilding? So when you've committed 4 years, $100 million, or was it 5 years, 125, whatever it might be.
4 years, $100 million.
4 years, $100 million.
Still a good deal.
It's a hell of a deal.
Looking back at it now,
it's a great deal. It's a great deal. But for that to come from him at this point in this season, after the trade deadline, when we're watching these games, and I know you're watching them too, going, what is Colin Sexton? Get him out of the game. Tell him he's hurt. Yeah. Sit him down. And Billy, to his credit, says, until they tell me that I don't have this guy to play and I can't play this guy, I'm trying to win the game. And I get it and I respect it. I understand that's how he's wired, because players and coaches don't tank. Front offices tank. But when I heard Giddey say those things, I'm thinking, it's one thing for us on the outside to look around and go, what is this? Mm-hmm. When your most important player, like you say, who is empowered now to be the veteran in the locker room, he's asking these questions. How can they not allow him to be more comfortable at work?
Absolutely. No, I think it's really difficult. And that is funny. That conversation I had was with Josh that morning. So it was a couple hours before like everything blew up, the one, Dan, that you're referencing. But no, it's hard. It's really hard when we talk to these players and it's clear that they feel lost. And I think it makes it even difficult for them to do the individual player development stuff that they need to be doing right now. Of like, there's a lot that Modis can gain from any NBA game right now, just in terms of kind of like continuing to work on his physicality, on his skills, on his defense. But I think it's really hard to do that if you do have even a glimmer of just that, what's the point question? And that's a really dangerous question for athletes. Athletes need to have tunnel vision. They need to be able to there's a reason that you hear athletes over and over again say, I don't want to think about the front office. I don't want to think about any of the roster moves. I just want to go out there and hoop. They mean it, because what they do is very difficult, and it requires them to tunnel and to just like lock in. Anything distracting them from that, whether it's off the court antics, whether it's just a lack of direction in roster construction, all of that is a disservice to players. And the players are the ones that are going to get, clowned the most for it. They're the ones that have to go out there and play these crappy kind of tanking, kind of not tanking games and put their bodies on the line for it. It's just a really difficult thing to ask. And especially when you're building around youth. So the players that you're asking to do that are very young. It's just kind of unfair all the way around.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the name of our podcast, Organizations Win Championships. And if that's what your star player that you just signed to a 4-year extension is saying, and saying that we don't have a clear direction of what the hell we're doing. What the goal is supposed to be winning a championship no matter what. Not happening this season, not happening next season. We know that.
Right.
And I'm sure they know that. However, they need to know what the timeline is, and the organization must be doing a pretty shitty job of letting them know what the hell is going on with that timeline. And so I think it just really sucks that you hear players say that, because as you said, they are the ones on the chopping block. They're the ones on the line that are putting their bodies at risk and doing, I don't want to say all of the work, but doing a good amount of it, because they're the guys that they're the guys that score the points and make the shots. And so if the organization is doing a crappy job of describing what they're trying to do, and if they're just trying to luck into a top 4 pick, if that's really what they're doing, and the organization isn't saying to Billy, we got to sit these guys because we got to increase our draft odds.
Right.
That shouldn't be.
Why
okay.
not? That's the question. Why aren't you?
Exactly. You can't rely on, this happened to Dallas last year after they traded Luka Doncic. Well, how's that going for them?
Have you been able to ask that at any point? Have you been able to say, hey, Arturas,
what the hell are we doing?
What are we doing?
Listen, I mean, this is a fairly openly known thing around the Bulls in terms of media. Arturas Karnisovas does not talk very often. On the record, off the record, he is someone who is incredibly media averse and in general fairly defensive toward questioning. I mean, if anyone's seen his press conferences, he gives as little as possible. I think for the most part, he tries to be honest in the answers that he gives, but that often means that you get very, very scant information and very, very limited, logical explanation from him. And he speaks 3 times a year. And that's just the way that he likes doing things. There is not some big, behind the scenes infrastructure of him kind of having conversations and keeping people apprised. What you see is pretty much what you get. And that is difficult. I know that there are many organizations that operate under that status quo in the NBA and in professional sports in general. But I think that specifically in the NBA and specifically in Chicago, it's just a pretty difficult way to run things. It feels as if when we talk to the coaches, it feels, like you said, Billy Donovan is sitting there waiting for an order that has never come. And so when you talk to the head coach is kind of I don't know where we're going. I'm just trying to win games. You talk to the players feel like, I don't know where we're going. I'm just trying to win games. That's not a good feeling to have all the way around. It makes it hard for us as media. It makes it really difficult for us to explain to fans what's happening. And I think that the general lack of transparency, I get it. I get being cagey about certain things. I'm not asking them to tell us who they're trying to pick in the draft or anything like that. But I think having a little bit more of a dialogue would certainly help. And at this point, it's pretty clear that just that sentiment has fallen on deaf ears for many years now.
Yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive things, too. I covered Jerry Krause. I was on the beat for Jerry Krause. Nobody was more paranoid and fearful of giving any information about any. He wouldn't tell you what he ate for lunch. But I never doubted, even when he was wrong, even when the rebuild was going wrong, I never doubted his motivation. I always knew what he was trying to do, what he wanted to do, and how competitive he was. And we heard that about Arturas Karnisovas. I don't know why this was a hire that was roundly praised around the league. And I thought, wow, they got the guy from Denver who knows how business is done. What did we get wrong?
I was thinking about that because there are two things. One, Jokic fell into his lap, right?
Okay.
Like nobody expected Jokic to be this good. And you can give him some credit for scouting or
For
whatever,
sure.
but look how Marko damn Simonovic turned out.
Right.
You know, just because they played in the same league. Oh, he's the next Jokic because he was taken during a Taco Bell commercial. So I think one, you had, in my opinion, the greatest offensive player ever to fall in your lap. And two, they won a championship 3 years after he left. So that, with those two things in mind, was it really a great hire? What did he really do that much there? That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look back on that first year that Arturas had in Chicago, I think, and I'm not necessarily, this is not necessarily like the most widely held opinion. I think that if he had continued doing projects like that, that would have kept Bulls fans happy for a very long time. That team was freaking fun. When they won a decent amount of games, you knew what to expect. They had a style of play that was different from other teams around the league. It just felt like, obviously that project didn't work out in the long run. A project can't be that good if a single injury ends up derailing it. We know all of these things, but it did just feel like that first year was a blueprint for what could have been long-term. Like, I don't want to call it success, but long-term fun in Chicago with the Bulls. I think that Bulls fans would have been really happy with that like quality of team for a very long time. You don't always have to like sustain upward trajectory toward a championship for fans to feel like you're getting a good product and you're developing good players and you're having like a decent time, like you said, with the entertainment product. And then it's like the moment that went south, he froze and he's never defrosted. And it's just been this constant fear. It really is like fear-informed leadership of not being able to make decisions and not being able to pivot. And I don't know where that came from. I will say, I don't think it's wrong to not be able to predict someone turning into that and turning into a person that all of a sudden gets frozen up. Like, if a guy gets the yips, he gets the yips, and you can't get too mad about it. You just kind of got to move on and say, okay, this isn't working. Let's go in a different direction. But I do think that the freeze that has happened both in the front office and then from ownership of not pushing them to go in a direction one way or another, I think that is just holding everyone back at this point. You can't freeze up like that.
I mentioned at the deadline this flurry of moves where we kind of got excited. It's like they get it. And now there's a troubling through line, not just the lack of first round picks. Anthony Simons is hurt, and they discover that there was a previous injury that they didn't know about. Rob Dillingham is having problems with his shot, and they go,
wasn't it like ganglion cysts or
very
something?
good. Yeah, good. It was ganglion cysts in his shooting wrist. And then we find out the Jaden Ivey stuff. Like, well, you should have known. Word on the street
and that was the trade too. That was the big trade.
It.
That was supposed to be low risk, high reward because you give away Kevin Huerter, who, you know, good tough player, but he would help the Pistons right now, and he wasn't really helping the Bulls except
that
for
was the
game winner on the D-Rose night
on his betting on a physical recovery there,
and that made a lot of sense. And then it turns out he's insane.
Well, we don't know that. We presume his behavior has been erratic. Let's say that. But
Sorry,
but is at some point people lose their jobs for something like that happening once.
Right.
Let alone multiple times in the same deadline.
Absolutely.
The Baltimore Ravens.
It's really, I think that the lack of vetting is very concerning. And I think there's two layers to it. There's the basketball side of it where I did not have a problem with the Jaden Ivey move from an injury standpoint. I think, like you said, I think it's very concerning that they did not know that they were inheriting some of these injuries with Ant and with Rob specifically. I just think that it's strange to not, at least once you have to come in, get the physical. I don't understand how Ant and Rob's injuries were all of a sudden coming up weeks later when they had time to do deadline day physicals for them. Like, just look at Rod's wrist. I could see it. Like, it was a visible cyst. Just look at it and go, oh, what's that? And then I don't know, like, a lot of people's grandmas will just smack that with a book. Just, you know,
Bible bump. Yep.
Yeah. But I think that the risks that they are willing to take, the way that they just are not really, do not seem bothered with vetting decisions, is very concerning, because it feels, and I know it's not, but it feels lazy. It feels like a lack of care that can only come from a lack of effort. And I don't think that there is true laziness in this front office, but I don't know what else to attribute that to, besides it just feels like there's not a certain standard that anyone is being held to in that department.
Like, did they give up? Because that's the question, right? Because if it isn't laziness, could the thing that looks like laziness just come from simply giving up? Because, well, this plan with DeMar and Zach and Lonzo and Vooch didn't work out, because they spent a lot of money and put a lot of time into that. You know, they built that up. They made the trade for Vooch early, and they traded, what was that? Otto Porter was on that roster. You know, he was part of that trade. So it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And when that plan fell through, did they just give up? And I know they made a good trade in the Caruso for Josh Giddey thing. They still didn't get any draft capital for it.
Right.
And they traded Lonzo for Isaac Okoro, who he's not the best player in the world, but he's better than what Lonzo is right now, which sucks. I feel bad for Lonzo, but the fact that he's still playing is great. It kind of seems like they don't really give too much of a shit right now, and that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. And when I talk about the lack of vetting with Jaden specifically, what I do mean is, Jason, what you referenced, the fact it's the fact that this man was on the record in a public interview saying that he abused his wife a year ago. Like, that is very specific.
That's enough.
About. I do not think that there are many things that could not have been predicted. I think that more should have been interrogated into that. And from what I can tell, I do not think that was a thing. I will be asking Arturas about it during exit interviews. Can't ask him earlier than that for obvious reasons, but I do not think that was a thing that was known to the front office. It was certainly a surprise to people around the Bulls when I told them when I was finding it. And I think that not being able to, that's just employee background check stuff. That's stuff that'll pop up for any of us if and when we apply for a different job. That is something that will pop up for you. If as an organization, you're not even running background checks on your employees, it's just like, where do you go from there? What do you do from that point on?
As we let you go, Julia, we really appreciate your generosity with your time. On a happier note, a throw-in, maybe the last name that we thought that was arriving with the Chicago Bulls that would end up being maybe the shining light of the deadline, of all people, turns out to be Leonard Miller. And he's finally getting the run that he always has wanted. I know he came from the G League Ignite, where he and Modest were tight, and you did a great job sort of writing that up. But I went from, he looks the part, he moves okay, to, he seems to understand offensive spacing really well. Then I'm thinking, look at this motor. This dude's kind of relentless. He competes. And then after he hits a couple jumpers, all of a sudden, I'm at the point where this could be a bottom half of the roster, rotational level, young NBA player on a good team.
Not necessarily bottom half of the roster. I would say like second or third guy off the bench. That's not bottom of the roster.
But it's pretty good. I'm trying to be guarded. Do you agree that he has played himself into at least that status?
Absolutely. I think similar to kind of the shift that you are describing, a very funny shift that I saw in terms of how Billy Donovan was speaking about him kind of reflects that as well, which is that when Lenny first got to Chicago, all that you would hear from Billy is just kind of like boilerplate praise, basically being like, hard worker, great guy, really seems to be, doing the best. And then all of a sudden he starts being like, I really need him to work better on this specific part of his game. And
I started to care.
So you like the guy. Okay, I get it. And then he starts starting from there, and it became very clear that he had that. No, I think on a different team, in a different situation, I think that Lenny would be the kind of like another happy story of a different kind of genre, which would be that you would be celebrating the fact of like, oh my gosh, this guy is good enough to be a not game deciding, but a game changing eighth man who is able to kind of just come in and inject a good team with a very small, spurt of very good minutes. And he can do that. And I think that is exciting to me for Lenny, kind of just knowing his work ethic and knowing how long he had to wait, because he did not play very much in Minnesota. And it is easy for these young players to calcify when they're not getting any playing time and to just kind of revert. And then when they do get on the court, they're like, oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to dunk, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they lose the spacing, they lose the defense, they lose.
Well, that's what Dillingham was doing. They came to the same situation, and Dillingham was just in such a hurry trying to do everything all the time.
That's okay.
It's okay, but
give him some time.
I know that's your guy. That's your guy.
Miller picked it up really quickly.
But you're describing, because we were seeing that, and he was very steady.
Yes. And I think one of the things that I like about just kind of how he describes his own mentality is he doesn't really let himself get sped up too much. He still does. He's still young. He's not used to playing. He's not going to lie and say that there aren't times where he just kind of gets out there and does kind of the very spastic thing that you see any guy that's not used to being on the court do. But I think that in general, the way that he reads the game and the way that he is able to come in and kind of settle, that'll pay off well for him. It is unfortunate that currently he is in the situation that he's in Chicago, because Chicago doesn't really need that guy. They're going to ask him to start and play a lot of minutes, especially this season. And that's not necessarily what, I think is realistic for what his like long-term role would look like in the NBA. But he's proving that he has tools and talents and kind of just the general profile where I think that he is going to really be able to kind of get a foothold somewhere. I'm not sure why it didn't work in Minnesota. That can often just be like roster makeup type of thing. It might just be a coaching thing. Who knows? But it is, it's interesting to see. And it's fun. It's been one of the few, it's hard to find fun storylines at this point, but that has been one that has been kind of nice to be able to witness.
Well, Julia, I'll say this. As the season has gone on and some of these things have gotten stranger and more serious, your work has risen to the occasion brilliantly. And I look forward to seeing your byline. I can't wait when something's posted. I'm all over it. So I think Bulls fans are lucky right now to have a good, strong, competitive beat with people doing really, really good work. And you're at the head of the pack right now. So
I really appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot.
Well,
thanks for joining us.
Standing invite. If you anytime you feel like dropping by, anytime you've got a thought that you feel you can't necessarily express in print, you're always welcome here on OWC.
Can't wait to read your piece on how Colin Sexton scores 28 to lead the Bulls to victory over the Pacers.
It's coming. It's coming.
Speak it into existence,
It'll be 28. I'm calling it right now.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
That is Julia Poe of the Chicago Tribune. And March Madness is already delivering upsets, blowouts, buzzer beaters. If your bracket's busted, doesn't mean you're out. Your bankroll doesn't have to be, because of the Final Four live bets. Catch the swing before the odds adjust. When you're thinking it, when you have that hunch, if you wait, you might just be too late to get the best little money line. If you think the opportunity is there, you don't need a perfect bracket. You just need that right read at the right time. So be in it to win it at mybookie.ag with the promo code OWC. Your first bet gets covered up to $500 then if it doesn't hit. And then you've got a bet back bonus token. So we were comparing it in Galaxy Quest. You have the Omega 13, and that way you can hit it and run it right back. And then you can save the life of Balthazar.
Oh, as soon as she left, you're just going to your crazy stuff.
Well, I have to get it out somehow.
I get it.
I have the mental zoomies. I'm sorry. MyBookie,
so
mybookie.ag, code OWC. The tournament is heating up to the bitter end. Don't just watch it. Go big, win from it. Only at MyBookie.
There is one thing I did want to mention about Leonard Miller, and I hate to be a negative Nancy, but he completely replaced Patrick Williams in the lineup, and it shows that Patrick Williams isn't really that competent of an eighth man, which sucks.
No, he's bad.
And
he's
we
bad.
always just said about Patrick, we just want him to do stuff. And Leonard Miller is the guy that does stuff.
Yes, jump.
He's the stuff guy. He jumps.
Jump. Run.
What's
jump.
really impressed me is his ability to offensive rebound, or his effort on the offensive glass has been really, 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 really impressive. And can't wait to see what he does in the future and what his role will be after whatever the hell this offseason looks like, because I'm already looking at the offseason and the draft. So, yeah.
All right. It's time for Cody to hit the music and for us to hit the showdown. I hope you got a good one, because I do.
I have a decent one, I think.
All right, good. All right, here we go, Jay.
You want me to go, or do you want you?
No, I think I'm going to go because I learned about a new stat that I saw, and the stat is fast break points per game.
Interesting.
Okay, so I'm asking you right now, all I have in front of me are the top 6 as of a day ago. Top 6 in the NBA in fast break points per game. I'm not going to tell you how I felt about this list, but can you name them?
I'm trying, because this could be anyone is the thing. I think that the biggest thing when it comes to this is minutes, and
I would say
fast. I like, this might be a wild shout, but I have a feeling that Stephon Castle might be on there.
That's not a bad guess at all.
Okay, and I was also thinking De'Aaron Fox, because I think the Spurs are really good at defense.
Yeah, but they don't. You're right about minutes. I would say the next thing is pace of team. How does that team play?
Damn, Modest, Giddy, like one of those two. Is there a bull on here?
There is not.
Okay, interesting. Oof, I'm gonna this one,
and there's no real surprises. These are all very good players.
Okay, I might be on the struggle bus still.
I think they're all all-star. They're all all-stars with the exception of one who's having a breakout year.
All right, I'm gonna say Jaylen Brown.
No.
Okay, because he's having a hell of a year. Jalen Brunson.
That's right. I thought you were but there is a Jalen. But
Jalen, it's not going to be. Is it Jalen? It's not Jalen Green.
Nope.
There is a Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson is number 6 with 4 fast break points per game.
All right. So, is Wemby on there too?
No.
Because Spurs play too slow. Shea.
No.
Wow. Jalen Williams.
No.
He's played enough games. Jokic isn't fast enough.
Correct.
Is Jamal Murray on there? Like a nugget?
He's not.
You said breakout year this year.
Yeah, there's one. Number 5 is having himself a year. And this is
kind of out of nowhere, or was it expected?
Well, maybe I think he's right guy, right team. There's only one team represented by 2 players in the top 6. And he is part of the one team represented by 2 players.
Are they a playoff team?
Yeah.
Like legit?
They're pretty legit.
Detroit?
Nope.
Western Conference?
Nope.
Eastern Conference.
You already named his teammate.
Is it a Celtic?
No, you already named his teammate.
Oh. Is it someone on the Knicks?
No, the one guy you got on the list.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just saying.
You already got his teammate.
Kuminga?
Nope.
I mean, Trae Young isn't there anymore. Is it CJ McCollum?
Nope.
I don't know the Hawks that well.
It's Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Okay. Well, all right.
He's having a really good year.
Yeah, he's a good player. What Timberwolves fans are saying, they're saying, give Iowa a blank check and he's going to be an all-star within a year.
They love him. I know. Why shouldn't they?
Have you seen his numbers since they put him as a starting point guard? He's averaging like 28 and 6. Yeah.
Wow. Good for him.
He's shooting like 55% from the field. He's been incredible for them.
That's fantastic. I'm happy.
I'm so happy for him.
All right, I'm gonna. You got to get number 1 on this list.
Is it Scotty Barnes?
No, but just thinking about it makes you smile. I know that. No, it's not.
My teddy bear. Are all these guys known to be good athletes and like fast, or no?
It depends when in their careers, perhaps. Number 2, definitely still very fast. The other 3 are all-time greats. There's
no way it's LeBron.
Number 1.
No fucking way.
Number 1, the oldest player in the NBA is leading the NBA in fast break points at 5.7 per game.
Oh my God.
LeBron James is number 1. Number 2.
And tomorrow there's a video coming out of him playing golf with Bob Does Sports.
I
don't
watched
know if you saw that. I am
you said it.
So excited.
It's your worlds colliding.
Oh my God. I don't know.
I know.
That is my equivalent of cocaine. I mean, it is the greatest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. I cannot wait to watch it.
I know. It's like the perfect Jason Bernstein
Giannis,
thing.
right?
Giannis is 3rd.
Okay.
Yes. Number 2 is just a star player who is probably in the top 3 of fastest players with the ball, or without, maybe.
Is it Cade?
No. Tyrese Maxey.
Okay. Oh, should have gotten that.
Tyrese Maxey's number 2, and believe it or not,
all-time great
Hall of Famer.
KD?
No.
Hall of Famer. It's not Jokic, not Luka.
Nope.
It's not. Is
nope.
he in like
team plays with pace?
Is he old?
Yeah, ish. Not old.
Has he won a ring?
Yes.
As the best player?
Yes.
Whoa. Recently?
Relatively.
God, I'm trying to think. It can't be Steph.
He's having his healthiest year in a long time. And we forgot what he looks like when he's himself.
Am I blanking?
Kawhi.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's LeBron, Maxey, Giannis.
Yeah, he's having a hell of a year.
Kawhi, Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
If his team around him was better, he would be in MVP conversations.
Maybe, but he's still having 100%. A great year.
I watched a video done by Jimmy Highroller recently, one of my favorite NBA creators, talking about this year's MVP race, how there are 4 guys having MVP seasons.
Yeah, so your MVP race right now is in no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
Luka, who's going to get the recency effect because he scored 600 points in March. He scored 600 points in March. So it's Luka.
They could be a problem in the West. They really could.
Luka, Shea.
Yep.
Cade.
Nope. He's 5th, probably.
Luka and Jokic.
Yeah, you're missing one. Because you're forgetting 50% of the game.
I'm forgetting Wemby.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Because he's still on a minutes restriction.
Well, he had a double-double in 8 minutes.
Have you seen his per 75 stats?
Oh, I don't even know if I want to.
Oh, it's like 31 points, 14 rebounds a game, and 4 blocks on 62% true shooting percentage.
Good luck with that. I mean, he was doing things in the Bulls game
it's for me, it's either Jokic or Wemby, just because of the sheer impact they have on their teams and how much worse their teams get when they're not on the floor.
That's a different definition of value, though.
That's what I think. That's where I think value is. But
okay,
right,
what's your question?
So I thought this was really, really interesting and really fun. So I went online and I found this Sporkle quiz, and I just want to see how many you can get because I have from 2000 to 2025. You don't have to go back that far.
Okay.
But I'm going to go in reverse order here so it makes it a little bit easier. I want you to name the scoring leader on the team with the worst record each season.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Do you want I can give you the teams if you would like.
All right, yeah, because there's no way I'm going to get this.
So last year is the Utah Jazz.
Lowry.
Nope.
He wasn't the leading scorer?
Nope.
It's not Keontae George.
It is not. That was my second guess. I didn't get it, but it makes sense. I'll say this. He is technically on a shirt that I own.
He's technically on a
He is on a shirt that I own and have worn.
I have no clue.
He is the butt end of a bad moment.
It's not Andre Drummond's big
No.
pants.
No.
It's a dunk.
It's a dunk.
By Ant?
Yes, over. Who did he dunk on and give a concussion to?
Walker Kessler?
Nope.
Who was it?
John Collins.
Okay.
He had 9. So 2024 was also the Utah Jazz.
Lowry.
That was Lowry.
Okay.
2023 Pistons.
Oh, that's gonna be yes. The guy who says if you need
don't overthink this one.
Cade
Cunningham.
Okay.
2022 is also the Pistons, but not Cade Cunningham. This is a tough one.
2022.
And he averaged 21.6 points per game. People forget that this dude was a beast for a while.
Oh, is it Jeremy Grant?
No.
Because he had a couple of huge years in there.
Not Jeremy Grant.
All right. Is it Tobias Harris?
No.
All right, then I'm out.
It was Bojan Bogdanovic.
Your dude. All right. This is
all right.
Fun.
This one is tough. It's back-to-back years with the Rockets. One of these names will be very easy. One of them will be like, what in the hell? But I feel like we've talked about him on the pod before just because he's a fun name to talk about.
Jalen Green?
No. One of them is very easy because it's 2020.
Şengün? Was he there yet?
2020. Who was still there in 2020?
Harden.
James Harden. It was 2020 because that was the year he got traded to the Nets, but he still technically scored.
So Harden was still there.
The year after that, however, I do not expect you to get this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Christian Wood.
Ugh. Is their leading scorer?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
2019 Golden State Warriors, because that was their crappy year.
Steph.
He was hurt all that season.
The entire year.
You forget that he played for this team. He spent 1 year there.
He spent 1 year there. How long was Durant there?
It's hard.
Who?
D'Angelo Russell.
I'm never going to get these.
All right. Do you want me to just do some easy ones then? Or
no, just give me the ones that are fun.
Okay. 2017 Suns.
Campaign.
No,
I don't know.
Campaign was a bull at that time, you dingus.
Dingus? No. Who was it? I don't know.
Booker.
Okay.
You dumbass.
But that's not particularly fun.
I'm trying to think of some real fun ones. All right, 2015 Sixers.
The 2015 Sixers.
Yeah.
Give me the initials. Give me the
J-O.
I was about to say Jermaine O'Neal. J-O. I don't know.
Chicago guy.
He's from Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
He played high school basketball in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Okafor?
Jalil
Okafor. Okay.
Yeah, he averaged 17.5 points per game. Wow.
Yeah, that was the trust the process. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to see if I can. There were 2 straight years from 2000 to 2001 where the Bulls were the worst team in the league, and it's 2 different players. Can you get these names?
Jamal Crawford.
Nope.
Ben Gordon.
Nope.
The leading scorer on the Bulls in 2000 and 2001. Elton Brand.
Elton Brand was 2000. Correct.
And Artest?
Nope. Played with Artest at one point, I believe.
It's not
Initials JR.
JR.
Jalen
Rose.
Jalen Rose.
Yeah, Jalen Rose. Okay.
I'm trying to think.
All right, we're good. Wrap it.
Okay.
We've been doing this for an hour. Yes.
There are multiple Kevin Martins, multiple Brooke Lopez's, and multiple Kevin Loves on this list.
All right. Well, good for them.
There's a 2011 Gerald Henderson.
Yeah, there is. I like the list. That's fun.
I thought that was a fun one.
It was. Well done.
Yeah.
That is Organizations Win Championships. Thanks to Cody Delmendo for producing. Thanks to Julia Poe, who was just tremendous.
That was great.
Loved hanging out with her. So we will get you next time and figure out who's running your Chicago Bulls and what they're trying to do.
Tank for Darren Peterson.
Organizations Win Championships, a Chicago Bulls podcast with Jason and Dan Bernstein on 312 Sports.